In the first video, we went through adding controllers, and the controllers that we've added have their action methods within them that are all currently returning a string. Generally, you will not have an action method return a string. Generally, it will return something called an iActionResult, which is a class that is derived from the ActionResult class. It's a type, it's not a string. So what we're going to do is comment out this index method, and now we have an action method that is returning a view of the index page. Well, currently we do not have a folder that matches our controller. In our previous video, we created a controller that will match up with one of the views. But in order for us to properly map the views from the controller file to a views file, we have to have a very specific name for our controllers. In the previous video, we created a controller named Welcome. Well, as a controller, this won't really work. The reason being is that when we try to map the controller to the view, it's looking for a specific word in the name of the controller, and that word is controller. Well, how can we fix this? Let's go back to commenting out this line. We can leave our other index the way it is. We'll save that, and then let's add another controller. So right click on controller, go to add. Let's do another new item. We'll do another MVC controller class. We'll call it Welcome Controller. Click add, and now we have a Welcome Controller class. It also has our iActionResult index page returning a view. So now we get to create our views. And we create our views by right-clicking, going to add, new folder, and we need to name the folder Welcome. Within our Welcome folder, we can then say, let's add a new item. We can also go to View, and it wants to add an MVC view. If we went to New Item, this is how it looks doing it that route. And we would find our MVC view page. Notice it automatically wants it to create an index.cshtml page. And the cshtml, that is our razor page. We're going to basically create a view template file using our razor. And razor allows us to use C# to create output in HTML. So the CSHTML stands for C# HTML. Now we have our view page. We're going to replace all of this data. This is just commenting out information. Right in here between the @ sign and the open and closing curly brackets, we're going to put in ViewData type. This is a dictionary type that holds data that can be passed back and forth between the controller and the view, although it's not a way that you will always use. We also have a view model, which is the route that we will generally take. Here we have a header 2 tag. I'm going to call this index, and then let's save that. You can see we can still go to the different links here, but we do not have currently one for our welcome. So if we wanted to go to our welcome page, we would still have to type it back in manually. If you'll notice, there's some similarities between each one of these pages. They all have the same basic layout. That layout is found in a shared file folder under the shared folder in the Solution Explorer _ layout. The layout template allows us to specify the HTML container layout on our sites in one single place and then apply it across multiple pages. It does that through this render body tag. We'll scroll down and find that right here. This render body tag. All render body is a placeholder line where all the view specific pages that you create will show up, and they just get wrapped inside of this layout page. So for example, if you selected the contact link, then all of this up here, the navigation, the footer down here, that is the layout page. The information in between, that comes from the contact page. As you can see, if we click on it, we've got our title, our message, an address, and some more address information in the form of emails. Going back to our shared layout, we can do a couple of things in here. Instead of saying, oh, I spelled this wrong. It's not my MCV. We're now learning MCV instead of MVC. My MCV music store. We can say my music store app. Then if we scroll down, we can see in our navigation bar, we have different line items that send us to different places. So let's add one more. Let's make our controller, the welcome controller, index action method, and we'll call this songs. If we save this and refresh this, we can now click on this item right here. It'll take us to this index page. However, if we make one more quick change here and call this songs, now we're changing the name of the controller, and we haven't added this controller yet, so if we tried to refresh this, it would refresh as long as we weren't on this specific, or clicking this specific link. If we click that link, it would error out. If we go into our view start.cshtml file, you'll notice right here it sets the main layout to the underscore layout. If you know where this is located, then you can use this layout property to set different layouts, or to set it to null if you have a layout for each page that you want to use. So back in our index.cshtml file, we're going to make a couple of changes to this file. The first change we want to make is this ViewData title. Right now it's currently index. We're going to call it music store, and then in the H2 element here, we're going to call this my music store, and save that. This code sets the title property of the ViewData dictionary to music store, and then this code sets the title property of the title tag in the HTML that's in the layout page. So you can see that it has changed. Right here it says my music store, and up in the tab it says music store. Now back to controllers for a minute. Controllers have actions that they use to invoke a response to an incoming URL request. A controller class is where you write code that handles incoming browser requests, and then the controller retrieves the data from data sources and decides what type of response that it needs to send back to the browser. View templates can be used from a controller to generate and format an HTML response to the browser. Controllers are responsible for providing the data that's required in order for a view template to be able to render a response. So a best practice with view templates is that they should not perform any sort of business logic or interact in any way directly with the database. A view template should work only with the data that's provided by the controller. So maintaining the separation is very important to maintaining clean code that's testable and easy to use. So currently, we have an index action method. In our previous welcome controller, we had a welcome class action method. That one returned a string. This one is going to return an iAction result. It's going to have a name still, and those same parameters still, but we're going to pass in a ViewData dictionary, give it a variable name. This one is called message. We define that name. And then there's the argument. Oh, I forgot my plus sign. There we go. Another ViewData dictionary. We're going to pass in another defined name that we have picked. And then finally, we're going to return the view. All right. The only problem with this is we do not have a welcome class review in our welcome controller, but we know how to fix that. Right click on our welcome controller, go to add, new item, the MVC view page, and let's name it welcome, spell it right, class. Now we have a welcome class. Inside of here, we just need to set a ViewData with title to be welcome class. Throw in an H2 header called welcome class, and then here's where it gets interesting. We have an unordered list that we're going to put C# code inside of, and we're going to loop through the dictionary, that ViewData dictionary that we're passing in. We're going to loop through it in a regular for loop and pull back that data. We've got to cast num times to an integer. Notice it's the exact same name that we used in the controller. And then we're going to set list items that are going to hold our message. Let's save that. Now we'll go back to our welcome / welcome class. And we'll go back to that first one we did, name equals Faith and num times equals 6. If you remember before, it just printed it out as a string. Now it's going to be returning a view template. And there it is. Welcome Faith, and it is looped 6 times. All right, so in this tutorial, we took a quick look at how to add a view, how to use CS in our HTML to manipulate the view programmatically, and we talked about the separation of controllers and views when it comes to processing data. Our next tutorial will go over adding a model and how the model, the view, and the controller work together before we take a deeper look at SQL Server and our local DB.